Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. So today we're going to be going over data management, part of our series of engineering and beyond. I'll be your presenter today. My name is Kim Hendricks. I am a solution consultant with D3 Technologies. I've been here about 8 years. I'm experienced on data management, AutoCAD, Inventor, automation, plant solutions, and I've spent about the past 30 years or so, a little more than that now, in manufacturing. Um, if you have questions during the webinar, you can post them on your questions. We'll try to get to them. I think everybody's muted now by default, but I think I can unmute you later and ask questions. You can also email me at the email address seen on the screen if you have further questions or need more information on anything that we've covered. So with that, we'll get started. If somebody could raise their hand or post a question and make sure you guys can see my screen, okay, that would be nice. All right, it looks like that we're okay on seeing the screen, so we'll continue. So our agenda today is just a little quick overview of data management and what it does, and our agenda is we're going to go over some quick searching, revision management, reuse of data, how it's scalable, and then the automation team threw in some stuff about how we automate the connection with Vault and data management, ERP systems, and other type systems. So let's get started by what is data management. So what you're seeing on the screen, I'll give you a second to read that. That is the wiki definition of data management. Data management is handled in many different types of products. Sometimes it's even handled without product using Windows Explorer or file permissions or pieces of paper. You might have a log of drawings or a log of engineering change orders stuff. All of that is considered data management. We recommend the use of Autodesk Vault, and that's what we're going to work on today. I'm going to kind of take you through the whys and some of the benefits of using Vault. What you'll be seeing on my screenshots that I've taken is 2017 Professional. I don't think there's anything in here that I'm showing that's not also in 2016 or in the subscription release of 2015. So depending on what version you are on, if you're already using Vault. So the first thing we're going to talk about are easy and quick searching. So inside of data management, if you have 4,000 files in your system, and you need to find the one file that is a piece of a body of whatever it is you're making, and it's made out of aluminum, can you find that quickly? If you don't know the file name or where somebody stored it or any of that, in your current systems, can you find that quickly? Inside of Vault, we can. There's a couple different ways that you can find it. The first way being what we refer to as a quick search. And what you're seeing on your screen is a screenshot of Vault for those of you who don't have it already. This is the client side. And I'll kind of review this before we go on. On the left side is your folder structure. Kind of mimics your Windows Explorer. Down here below we have a work list, and I'll show a full screen in a minute. And then right here, when we click on a file, it shows the list on the right side and then properties to the left. But what I'm talking about now is the quick search. So this little box right here where I have the red arrow to it, that's the quick search. You can type something in there, and like for instance, I typed BW. So in my sample Vault that I have had, those are bodywork type files that have a BW in the name. The quick search will also discover the metadata that you see on the right hand side. It will also look through any property that is defined as a quick searchable property. So in out of the box situations, if it's not been modified at all, it chooses title, file name, description, and title, I believe, are the three that are out of the box. And so I just did a BW search, and it pulled up a search result of a couple hundred files that have BW in the file name or BW in the description. That quick search lets you search for one property, one thing that's in there. But if we go to advanced find, which is this little binocular set up here, it brings up a dialog box, and I'll show you, this is the full thing. It brings up a dialog box and it lets you look for anything, files, folders. I'm going to look for files whose file name contains the BW. We'll stick with that BW theme. And whose material is aluminum. So now I'm going to look for any bodywork type file whose material is aluminum. And I'm capturing that information from my actual CAD file. And it pulls up a search list of a few files, but I can save that search. So, and I can save any search and name it whatever I want to. So this search, I'm going to say bodywork files that are aluminum, and I'm going to save it as a folder. Once I save that as a folder, it becomes a quick list on the left-hand side of my, I can close my advanced find, and you can see in my search folders right there, I have that I can go look at any time. And it shows me, I can work on all the files from right there, and it's updated on the fly. So if I go put in another file later on, or somebody else puts in another file, and I click on that save search, it'll update that search that quickly. So that's, you can do any combination of search and find using that advanced find of any property that's available, but just remember that it's an and. So it has to meet all the criteria in your list, and then it'll show up on here. There's also some more information that you can do with saved searches. You can create reports. So if you wanted to create a saved search or just a search, you don't even have to save it, of all the files that are project 123, that are bodyworks, that are by this vendor or this customer or whatever makes sense to you, and you get this list, you can generate a report from Vault that says this is my transmittal list or this is my list of files, and it'll show thumbnails or whatever you want on there. So save searches are very powerful. Inside the save search, inside the search dialog box, anything that you can do with the file in a normal spot, you can do with here. So we can sort by any of these columns. We can customize these columns. We can filter by those columns. So I can filter by these columns by just the IPTs or just the DWGs, or maybe I only want to look at the files that are work in progress because the released ones are already there. I can sort by all of that inside this search history. Searching is also, you can filter in any, let's pull up the actual Vault client real quick. And so I have that saved search that I showed you right here. If I click on a file, I can do anything from this search window that I can do as if I'm looking on the file. So I can check out the file, open the file, look at the file, preview it, change the workflow. Inside of here, there's this little bitty kind of an unknown thing. It's called a filter. You can see it right up here in the corner of this, and I can filter by, I just want my work in progress. And so now it tells me that I'm filtered by work in progress. And maybe I only want revision A or B, or maybe I want certain checked in, or I want to change what I see here. I can do all of that inside any window inside of Vault. So whether it's a saved search or a regular window like that full bodyworks window, I can change the ones here, I can filter it, I can sort by it, I can tell that if it's released it's locked, which tells me that I have read-only permissions to that. So that's our searching. So let's go back to our slideshow here. Okay, so let's get past that. All right, so the next topic that I wanted to cover was revision control. So right now, and I've been at a lot of companies where I've done scopes or business process assessments for their Vault, and we've talked about the revision control. And I was at one recently where to revise a file, they had to open the file and change it in the title block, and then they had to go change it in a log, and then they had to go update the production version, and then they had to go take it out of shop and a printed copy and replace it with that one and hope that nobody else put one in their drawer. So they had 4 or 5 steps to make a revision. So Vault kind of takes all of that away from you. If you go paperless and use viewing, then that even takes away that last step of being out in the shop. But it logs it, it keeps the history. So you can see on my Vault I have a revision level here, and the revisions inside of Vault are controlled by workflow or your life cycle. And when we put these together, we design it based on your workflow, not something out of the box that somebody at Autodesk designed. They have some out of the box that we can use. And the one I'm using is a flexible one that's work in progress, for review, released, and obsolete. And if I take it through that work in progress and designer's working on it and I move it to checking, I can go back and forth and things don't change. If I move it to release, then it's locked, and you get that lock like I showed you a few minutes ago, and that means that everybody has that read-only. That way it can't be changed if the shop is working on it or if it's released out to a customer. We have to be on purpose to be able to edit those. If I take it from released back to work in progress, then I should be bumping a revision, and it does that for me automatically. And not only does it just do it right here in the Vault where you can see it, but assuming that our properties are set up and synced correctly, it will absolutely update a drawing as well. So I'll show you here on this MFS 1062 drawing. It's at work in progress, and so I'm going to set it to review, and that's going to let my checker check it, and it's going to change everything that's associated with it because I have the little button right here set to check the children too. So it's going to do all of them at once for me. So I can pick the top node and it gets all of them for me. So then my checker's checked it and it's all good. So it's going to do the same thing. It's going to set them all to released. Now you're seeing the little red squirrely thing because I have one on my local system and it's saying you need to update that. So I do. I update it. I'll go ahead and get a copy of it on my local system. And then you can see that it's locked because it is released. So now if I go back to work in progress, I need to make a comment on that drawing. Something's not right. I'm going to pull it out of production. The minute I do that and I take it back to work in progress, it makes it editable, but it bumped the revision to C, from B to C. So when I open this drawing and I check it out, I'm going to manually sync the properties now, but I have a job process that can do that if I wasn't trying to do it quickly. And if I go look at my title block, it's going to update all those properties, and I go look at my title block right there, you can see that it's already upgraded it to C. So that takes away that check. You know, like I bumped that riv, but did I do it here in my log, which the Vault shows me all that history? I did it in my title block of my drawing, so they match. And since I went through my workflow of released and back to work in progress, if my shop is using the ThinWeb client to see these drawings, then once I take it from release back to work in progress, they can no longer see it because it's not a released version. It removes that automatically for them so that next time they go to look at it, if I have re-released it, they'll see that it's now revision C and they can see that one. So we can control when you can see it, who can move it between those, what happens on the revision control, and control the shop's access to those files. And I'm using the shop loosely. That could be purchasing, it could be quality control. We don't want purchasing to see these files until they're released either, so we can control that security based on groups. So that's revision control. Let me check and see if there's any questions here. I'm not seeing any questions yet. See if anybody's got hands raised. Nope. Okay, so we'll keep going right here. I may have skipped one. Let's see. No, okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so the other nice thing about Vault or any data management system, if you're not using a data management system, you need to use one. And if Vault's the right fit, we can help you decide that. But you need to use something rather than just Windows Explorer and permissions like that. So another big thing on Vault is teamwork and collaboration. If we have a large piece of equipment, let's say a bulldozer, because that's where my head went for some reason, and you have some of your team working on the back axles and some of your team working on the hydraulics on the front and some are working on the cab, but everybody needs the main body to use as reference. You can do that inside of Vault. They can have them as read-only for reference. They can even have the files you're working on as read-only for reference, and the Vault will notify them if you've updated it so they can get a new copy in their system. So the Vault works with a check-in, check-out system. So if one guy checks it in or checks it out and he works on it and he checks it back in, the next guy can get it. Only one person can have it out at a time. Therefore, it's not last one in, last save wins. You're not overwriting each other's work. And every time that file is checked in, or not just when it's checked in, but if it's affected in Vault, if we update the properties, if we change its life cycle, if we bump a rev, if we do any of those, it creates what we refer to as a version inside of Vault. So if you notice on this file that I'm picking on, this MFS 1062 drawing, it has, so every check-in produces a history timeline. So I can go back through and see all 17 of these versions. My current version is 18. So in my history, I have 17 and below. I have 4 revisions and 17 versions. The two should not be confused. Okay, a version is an iteration of a file. Something has changed. Somebody did it. There should be a comment. There's a tracking on it. It might be that it went from work in progress to checking and back and forth, or it might be that Joe worked on it every day for a week and each night he checked it in, right? So that would be 5 versions. The controlled versions are these ones that have revisions. That goes back to your workflow. If version 4 got put to revision C, then that's controlled. At the end of the project, we can purge these files, and it would reduce these revisions, these versions, down to the controlled ones. First version, last version, and anything that produces a revision change. So that if you're going to archive this drawing for later, you don't need to keep every time Joe checked it in, but you do want to keep the controlled ones. But while you're working on that file, if Joe's working on that file Monday through Friday and he checks it in every day, and we have 5 versions, so he works real hard on it on Monday, his boss comes in and says, you know what, let's change this, this, and this on Tuesday. And so he works real hard and he makes all those changes, and he shows it to his boss on Wednesday, and he was like, yeah, I like the way it was before. If you're not using a data management system similar to Vault, then you've got to redraw that back to the way it was, or you have to keep copies, and now you have all these uncontrolled copies out there. With Vault, I can simply say, I want version 15 to be my current one, and I can open it, save it as my current one, and check it back in, and it becomes version 18, and I still keep all the history between those. I can also, with my history, which is the next thing we're going to talk about, is data reuse. Say I've worked on this scoop for the front of this bulldozer for weeks for job ABC, and I'm going to be doing job, XYZ coming up, and it needs that same scoop, but it needs it the way it was, Rev A, before the customer made all their custom questions. I can go get Rev A and use that to copy design and create my next project XYZ. So we should not be recreating the wheel at any time. We should be using our existing data that we have, using the search tools to find the ones that we want and the materials that we want, and then going forward with that data without redrawing it. Because the best designer is the lazy one, right? The one that doesn't recreate the wheel so that we don't redo those same mistakes and such. So that's part of our teamwork and collaboration. The next area, which has been greatly reinforced and improved since mid-year release of 2015, is something that Vault refers to as the copy design functionality. And if you're on an older version, 2014 or early 2015, you don't have this tool yet. But once you get on 2015 mid-year subscription release, 2016 or 2017, in the upper levels of Vault, Workgroup, and Pro, then you have this new version. A copy design still exists in Vault Basic and the older ones, but it's just a different format. And I didn't go through that today in today's webinar. So data reuse, let's stop manually recreating models and stuff that are the same as accept or iterations of the same one, or that scoop that I need to redo, but I'm only going to change that scoop from a 5-foot one to a 4-foot one. I can certainly start with that 5-foot one, make a few changes, and it's done in 5 hours as opposed to the 40 hours it took me to draw the original one. So I'm going to show you how the new copy design system works. It's a standalone program. It starts from your start menu. It doesn't start within Vault anymore. And the top ribbon looks like this. Vault login, select your parent files, the include section, Copy, you can copy all the nodes or just the top nodes, and I'll show you all that. And then select an action rule set. So think about how cool it would be to take project ABC and customer XYZ said, come in with the purchase order, and they don't know that you did this for customer ABC, but it's just like it, except maybe it's 5 feet wide instead of 4 feet wide. So you copy that project ABC to XYZ, and while you copy it, you replace a couple of parts because this customer likes this type of bolt or this type of material. You can replace those parts at the same time. You can manipulate some properties, clear out the project name, put in a new project name, copy the iLogic rules, or don't copy the iLogic rules. You can take multiple, if there's multiple top-level assemblies for this project, you can copy them all in one operation, and it does it all server-side very quickly. So let's kind of go through how that works. So you select a file by clicking this, and it'll peer into the vault, and it'll say what top-level node do you want. And you can pick a drawing, or you can pick an assembly, or you can pick a couple of parts if you want. And then it's going to let you choose whether you want all the parents and all the children with it. So you can add multiple top levels at a time, which we didn't used to be able to do that. So I can say I need this entire powertrain system, and I need this entire interior system, and I need this whole drivetrain system too, and I can copy all those individually with separate changes on them. So for each file that's in there, I get to choose, okay, with what I want to do, because some things are the same. You know, bolts, standard parts that you reuse in many, many different projects, you're going to reuse those because you don't need multiple copies of those. So I can choose to copy it to a different location, replace it. So I can actually, if customer ABC uses a stainless steel bolt and customer XYZ wants us to use a hardened kind of bolt, we can replace that right there on the fly during the copy, so that when we open it up, that part is already changed. So I can replace it. I can exclude it from the copy. I don't need this file. I don't need that file. I don't need this drawing. I can take those out. Or I can simply reuse them. If it's a bolt, it's a bolt, it's a bolt that we're going to use. We just keep using that same one. So that's a choice on every file that's in there. And you can do it by multi-selects or by individual selects. We can, on naming the new files, there's multiple ways we can do that. We can use numbering schemes that are defined in Vault. That's what you're seeing here. I'm using a mono numbering system, which is M-M, and I can select these different ones, and then it's sequential after that. I can change it to, here's all my numbering schemes that I have defined in Vault. I have drawing files, no numbering scheme, organization, person, sequential, task-oriented, all those different numbering schemes I can choose, and it'll automatically number those for me. Or I can set the numbering scheme to none, and I can set a prefix. So put a prefix on there that says copy of, or 123 dash, or I can put a postfix at the end of each file. Or, which is also new, I can do a search and replace. So say every file in my starting set what says project 1234 on it, dash whatever the file name is, and my new one is going to be project 987, I can search and replace for everywhere it says 1234 and replace it with 987, and all my files get changed to the new project number, already renamed, already fixes it, associates the file name with the new part number, it clears out the customer and project name, and I can choose whether to keep my iLogic rules in it or not. So that's how we can name the files. Next, we get to choose action sets, and action sets get to describe, they are sets of rules that say, how am I going to treat all these properties as I do this. So, and you can create different sets of rules. That's what these are right here. I have a default rule set, a copy of the default rule set, so I can show it to you. And then one that says don't remove the iLogic, because I maybe have this base model that has all my parametric stuff in it, and I use that as a template. So I always copy that to a project, so I want to leave my iLogic rules in there. So that's one of the things in here. And you can say that this default rule set says for every file, I'm going to set my part number equal to my file name. I'm going to reset the category name to a base, and I'm going to remove all my iLogic rules. It will apply that to each file as we go, and you can create as many of those sets of rules as you wish. And then the last part is to create the copy. And so it shows you this dialog box. In the past, it would copy all those to your local machine, make all the changes, and then put them all back on the vault. Now it does it all server side, so it's very fast, and we don't have that latency between server and client going forward. So that's kind of how copy design works. So let me see before we go on if we have any questions in here that I need to answer. No, we're good. Okay, so our next topic is scalable. How scalable is the Vault? I have customers that use a Vault Professional and they have one client, and they only use it so that he can check in and check in his files, and that his shop can see those files using the ThinWeb client. One server, one client, one shop access. I have customers that have 9 or 10 servers around the globe, and they're replicated. Different vaults go to different parts of the country or different parts of the world, and they're replicated. I can have fully replicated for main hubs, which means I also have a SQL server and a file store. I can do one in the cloud if we want. That's new. I can use an Amazon or Azure cloud server. I can have file-only replication if it's a regional site, like say I have 5 servers in different parts of California. I have one SQL server. They all just replicate the files, so the files are local, but the SQL is remote. So I can do this scalable. There's no limit that I'm aware of the number of servers and number of locations that we can have. It does require some management, but it is very scalable, and we can add to it as we go. I have several different customers that have started out with 2 servers replicated, and then over the years we've added a file server in another part of the world, and then later we added another full replication, and it's grown from 2 servers to 5 or 6. The largest personal one I've done is 11 servers around the world with 6 different vaults in it. So it's quite scalable, one location to many. So the last step, and this 30 minutes goes really quick, so I apologize for going through this so fast. Lastly, we do have some automation that we can work with. Our D3 automation team has some things that they have written that work in conjunction with your Vault. So if you have information that you want to output to a spreadsheet, or you want to automatically put approval signatures on drawings or on files, or if you want to set your BOM and automatically write that out to your ERP system, we have systems that do all that. That is outside of the normal out-of-the-box situation in Vault, but our automation team writes those. They go through a custom scoping system, and they can output to these output bots, output to however you want it. So if you want every one of your files to be outputted to PDF and out to this other directory, or out to this directory where SharePoint sees it, or where some other, or emailed, those output bots do all of that using a job server in the background. And that is custom automation that we also do. And lastly on that, we have on our BOM to ERP, we have an iProperty editor, so that you can one last look, so you can look at it, make sure all your iProperties match before you hit go and send it to your ERP system. So think about how quick it would be if that purchasing person didn't have to look at your drawings and re-enter your entire bill of material into their ERP system before purchasing all that began. You would reduce your errors and the number of time, and you can take those smart people and have them quit doing mundane stuff and do stuff that really matters. So I finished that right at 12 o'clock, so I can open it up for questions. Let's see if I can turn on, unmute all. Yeah, it won't let me unmute it. Let's see, unmute. Yeah, I can unmute randomly. If anybody has any questions, you can post a question in the question section, and I can answer it. And let's see, how to create, update, and share PDFs in Vault. That's this bot, so let me back up one. This bot right here, it creates Usually it does it on either with a button that we put in Vault or with a workflow process. So if you go from, say, review to release, it would fire off a job and publish that PDF automatically. But that's outside of the scope of normal Vault, and it would have to be use one of the D3 bots. Any other questions in there? Okay, well, this is recorded. If you want to share this with somebody else, we can certainly email that link to somebody, and that does it for our webinar. I hope everybody enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll put my email back up there real quick. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.